This is the Coronation Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to another insightful episode of Legacy Matters, the podcast where we explore strategies for securing financial stability and ensuring a bright future for you and your loved ones. Today we are diving into a topic every parent and guardian should be thinking about. Can an educational trust really secure your child's future? Stay with us as we unpack what it is, how it works, and why it might be one of the smartest moves you can make for your child's education. Discover how the rising tuition fees, unpredictable economic conditions, and uncertainties of life all point to one undeniable truth. Planning ahead for your child's education isn't just wise, it is essential. Education is one of the most valuable gifts you can give your child, but with the cost of schooling steadily increasing and financial stability never guaranteed, how can you make sure that no matter what happens, your child's future remains secure? That's where an educational trust comes in. It's a powerful financial planning tool that allows you to set aside funds specifically for your child's education, and it does more than just saving money. It creates structure, protection, and peace of mind. How does this work, and can it truly guarantee your child's academic future? I am your host, Shalakpe Adegbe, Social Media Manager, Coronation Registrars Limited. And today's episode, we are breaking down everything you need to know about educational trusts, how it works, why they matter, and how it can help you give your child a head start that lasts a lifetime. Joining me today is Jefta Owadiego, Legal Officer at Coronation Trustees Limited. Jefta is a corporate and commercial lawyer with experience in diverse areas of law, particularly in estate planning and capital market operations. Jefta is a well-known, rounded professional committed to excellence, business growth, and client success. Together, we'll be discussing how educational trust actually works and how it can help you secure your child's academic future. So whether you're a parent, a guardian, or simply planning ahead, stay tuned. This is a conversation you won't want to miss. Welcome, Jefta. It's great to have you on today's show.
Thank you, Shalakwe. I'm excited to be here and to share some insights on educational trust.
Welcome. Let's start with the basics. What is actually an educational trust and how does it work?
So an educational trust is a legal arrangement where a person, usually a parent or guardian, right? So they set aside their money specifically to fund their child's education, right? So this trust or this fund, right, is usually managed by a trustee whose sole responsibility is to ensure that the trust or the funds are used specifically for the child's education, right? So all of this is defined in the trust deed. So typically, how does it work? So the set law, usually the person creating the trust transfers assets into the trust, right? So these trusts are then held and managed by the trustee who distributes the funds over time to ensure that it covers expenses like tuition, books, accommodation, and even international school fees, right? So depending on what the trust allows. So the beauty of an educational trust is that it provides a structure and protection, right? So it ensures that money is always available when it's needed and is used exactly as it is intended, right? So regardless of any unforeseen circumstances like the loss of a parent or financial hardship, the child's education is covered.
Thank you, Jefta. Imagine a scenario where a father suddenly passes away, leaving behind two young children. Without a financial plan in place, their education can be at risk. But if he had established an educational trust, their tuition and school expenses will be covered without disruption. That really highlights how valuable this kind of planning can be, right?
Exactly. So it's all about foresight and intentional financial planning. An educational trust removes the uncertainty around whether funds will be available when the time comes. So it ensures that money is protected and used solely for educational purposes without any delay or diversion.
Thank you so much, Jefta. So what are some key benefits of setting up an educational trust?
Alright, so there are several benefits, so some of which I'll be highlighting, right? Some of them include financial security. So the primary purpose of an educational trust is to guarantee that funds will be available for a child's education, regardless of what happens in the future. So the other one is the exclusive use of funds. So the trust guarantees that the funds are used strictly for educational purposes, such as purchase of textbooks, school-related expenses, protecting the funds from being spent elsewhere. But there's also protection from creditors. So when a trust is properly structured, so it ensures that offers protection from creditors. So ensuring that your child's education remains unaffected by personal financial challenges or legal issues. So there's control over fund distribution. With an educational trust, you can set specific terms on how and when the funds are to be released, ensuring that they are used for the intended purpose and at the right time in your child's educational journey. Now, the last one here is the long-term planning. So parents having more than one kid can structure trust to cater for each child's education in a fair and sustainable manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Jetta. Let's consider another situation. Say a mother starts an educational trust for her son. She's worried that if she gives him a lump sum of money for the education, he might be tempted to use it for something else. With a trust in place, only his tuition and necessary school expenses can be covered. That ensures discipline, right?
Absolutely. That's one of the greatest advantages of an educational trust. So it protects the funds from being misused and ensures that the funds are used for its intended purpose.
For parents and guardians who are considering setting up an educational trust, what steps should they take?
All right. Thank you for that question. So setting up an educational trust, there are some key steps. So the first one is to determine your goals. So you determine what amount you intend to set aside to be put in the trust. You determine who the beneficiaries are. You determine the duration of this trust. Right. So the second step is to choose a trustee. So here you select a reputable trustee like Coronation Trustee to manage the trust effectively, right? And to also to ensure compliance with the terms of the trust deed. Then the next step after that is to define the terms. So what are the terms you want to govern the trust relationship? And it would entail things like, how should funds be disbursed? What expenses are to be covered? And any other condition that with respect to which funds might be disbursed or to which withdrawals might occur. So the next step is to fund the trust. So the whole essence of setting up a trust is to fund your child's education. So here you have to fund the trust. Deposit an agreed sum or any amount, or it could be through a lump sum, or it could be periodic contribution depending on your financial capacity. Then the last one here is the regular review. So here the trust has been set up. So this is where the settlor, right, reviews the trust to ensure that it aligns with financial situations and the educational need of the child.
Thank you, Jefta. That sounds like a well-structured plan, and I think the most important point is to choose a reputable trustee like Coronation Trustees. So let's say I want to set up an educational trust for my niece. I want her covered in case anything happens to me. I'm not married, but I want to support my niece's future. Can I set up an educational trust for her?
Yes, absolutely. So an educational trust is not limited to just the parents. So anyone can set up an educational trust. So it could be an uncle, it could be a grandparent, it could even be a close friend or a family friend can set up an educational trust to support a child's education. So it's not limited to parents.
Thank you for that insight. So before we wrap up, let's address some common myths about educational trusts. What are some misconceptions you've encountered in your line of work?
Okay, there are a few, but just to highlight some of them. So one I've heard is very common. Educational trust is only for the wealthy. So this is not correct in any way, right? So an educational trust can be set up by anybody, irrespective of your financial status. So what you just have to do is just to set up a trust to meet your financial needs. Right, so you set up a trust and fund it according to your personal financial capacity. Then another misconception, right, is once money is in the trust that you lose control. So this is not true. So while the trustee manages the funds, the trust allows for guidelines and ensures that the trust is managed in alignment with the guidelines as set in the trust deed. So there's a trust deed that governs the relationship between the trustee and the set law. So it ensures that trust funds are managed in alignment with the guidelines are set out in the trust. But the other one is a regular savings account is just as good as a trust. So this is not correct, right? So because unlike savings account, an educational trust is legally binding, right? So it ensures that funds are used strictly for the purpose of education. So irrespective of anything that happens, an educational trust covers for your child's education.
Okay, thank you, Jefta, for that clarification. A perfect example of this can be when a parent who have been saving for their daughter's university fee in a personal bank account one day uses it because of an emergency, right?
Exactly. The benefit of a trust, right? So a trust ensures that the funds meant for educational purposes are protected. So no matter what the financial emergency may arise, the funds are always available to meet the child's educational needs.
Okay, thank you so much, Jetta, for sharing this valuable insight. This is an eye-opening discussion.
Thank you, Sholakwe. Thank you for having me.
All right, that's a wrap on today's episode. If you found this discussion helpful, please be sure to share this with your friends and family. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on conversations.coronation.ng for more expert advice and insight on managing your wealth. If you have any question or topics you would like us to discuss, please reach out to us at trustee@coronationt.com. Let me take that again. trustee@coronationt.com or call us at 09074083213. 09074083213 for expert guidance. Follow us on all our social media pages at Coronation Group and visit our portal at trustees.coronation.ng for personalized services. Remember, planning today secures your child's tomorrow. Until next time, stay informed and stay financially prepared. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
This has been the Coronation Podcast. Thank you for listening.